my name is Nina Ramos. This is Boerne Yoga, and welcome to your yoga studio crash course. Yoga studio crash course. Yay, it's finally here. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be filming this, that this idea has actually come to fruition. It's been like in my brain for like 2 years. So the fact that it's happening now is like amazing. So thank you all for joining me. I just really hope that you guys enjoy this, that you learn and find this educational. Before we even start, I really want to open this up as a conversation. So if you guys have any questions at all, feel free to comment down below or to go to my website, which is linked down below. You have a direct line to my email. Please feel free, ask all the questions, give suggestions. This is a conversation here. I always want everyone to feel seen and heard. If we are going to be in this amazing community, if you want to be a part of the Boerne family, like I'm all ears. Like, you're seen, you're heard. All right, cool. So now that we've got that weirdness out of the way, we are going to start off our first video. So today we are going to be talking about the styles of yoga. So there are so many different styles of yoga out there, and the different styles pertain to what you personally want to get out of your practice. And I know that when we're going online, we're searching for classes, you know, you're hearing all of these or seeing all of these Sanskrit words and you're like, well, what does this even mean? Like, what's Vinyasa? What's Kundalini? What's all of this stuff? So hopefully this will kind of answer your questions in like, I mean, as condensed as we can get it, because, you know, it's gonna be a long video. We got a lot to talk about, guys. So without further ado, let's get started. So before we talk about individual styles, I'm gonna break the styles up into 2 subcategories, because that's just kind of how I break it down in my mind. It's the easiest way to sort of think about it. So I think about in terms of that beautiful Chinese symbol, the yin and the yang sign, or some people pronounce it as yang. It's technically pronounced yang, where it's that black and white circle with the dots, kind of like the koi fish from Avatar: The Last Airbender. How great is that show, by the way? Anyone who's seen it, if you haven't seen it, go and see it. It's not just a kid's show, it's incredible. So many chef's kisses. So with yang yoga, it's going to be more aggressive. It's going to be more cardio. It's the masculine. When I say masculine, I don't just mean like only males can do it. It's just like that's yang. It's the masculine energy, which we all have within us. We all have masculine and feminine energy, but I'm not going to talk about that today because I will go on a tangent. Don't even get me started. But yang yoga is going to be the one that's going to get your heart rate going. It's that cardio. It's that hard, aggressive style. It's kind of more what you would think of when you're going to like a gym yoga class, stuff like that. Excuse me. I can't, oh my God, I can't stop. Embarrassing. Anyway, so with yin yoga, yin is the feminine, it's the cool, it's the soft. So yin yoga is going to be a little bit more restorative. It's going to be a little slower. You're going to be holding postures for a little bit longer than you would in a yang class. So those are kind of the 2 categories, and I'll break down the individual styles that you're most likely going to see. They're the most popular, the most widely practiced yang and yin styles, and then we'll talk about some other ones that I think are really fun as well. So the first styles that we're going to be talking about is under the yang umbrella, and the first style up is Hatha, or Hatha, however you want to pronounce it. But Hatha yoga is, I like to kind of describe it as yoga 101. It's kind of the basics of yoga. It tends to be a little bit easier, a little bit slower going. You're going to be holding poses for a little bit longer than you would in another flow class. And I do find that a lot of Hatha classes are very like beginner friendly. They do a lot of demos. They do a lot of explaining as to, you know, what postures do what, a lot of verbal cues, so that it's easier for you to get in and out of your postures and sort of understand how they should be feeling in your body. Hatha is probably one of my favorite styles to teach. I just find myself teaching Hatha style classes just because I like to be able to have students really feel what each posture feels like in their body. So the longer that you stay in it, the more you can kind of tweak and sort of find what feels good for you. Although I do also just really like to teach beginners yoga because I think that, yeah, it's just really fun to teach beginners. Oh my gosh, my cat is going crazy on her like cat scratch post. Is she done? Oh my god, what is she doing out there? Crazy girl. Coffee break. Oh yes, this is my coffee. It's great. Do you think this mason jar is big enough? I don't think it's big enough. Also, this is a reusable straw. It's not. Don't come for me. I'm not trying to kill any turtles. But yeah, oh my gosh. I'm gonna break this off for a moment because I found the most amazing eggnog dairy-free creamer, and I just want to talk about it because Starbucks, as much as I love Starbucks, they got rid of my favorite drinks, my favorite holiday drinks. They just, like, more and more, they're just getting rid of them. Like, I had 3 that were my favorite, and they just got rid of them. I don't care what your freaking Christmas cups look like Starbucks, but when you take off my favorite drinks, oh my gosh. They took away my eggnog latte, they took away my gingerbread latte, and they took away my holiday spice flat white. Like, I have nothing to get excited about anymore during Christmas. I'm so mad. I'm not really that mad, but when they took off that holiday spice flat white, I was livid. I was so sad. That was my favorite drink. Oh my god. It was so good. So I'm just trying to pull through this holiday season with my Califia non-dairy creamers. I have a mint mocha one and I have an eggnog one, and it's just pulling me through. I don't know what I'd do without it. Tangent done. Okay, we're talking about Hatha yoga. All right. Guys are distracting. Anyway, so although I kind of said that Hatha is really good for beginners because it's such an umbrella term of yoga, they can vary in like levels. So I would definitely call and check the studio before you sign up for a Hatha class and just kind of feel it out. I mean, I would always suggest getting in contact or like emailing, giving a phone call to a studio before you go, just because it's a really good way to sort of feel out if this place is right for you. So Hatha, other things that are kind of included in Hatha besides the postures are going to be our pranayama, which is our yogic breathing techniques, which are amazing, and they can do all sorts of amazing things. They can center your brain, they can decrease stress, decrease blood pressure, all sorts of amazing things, and we'll have a video on pranayama later on in this series, so stay tuned for that. And that's pretty much it on Hatha. Yeah, it's, like I said, it's a very broad term, so there's nothing too specific that I can really get into on like what Hatha is, because Hatha yoga like is the basics of yoga, so it's like, yeah, that makes sense. I'm really good at explaining things. Anyway, so our next style that we're going to be talking about is Vinyasa flow. So Hatha and Vinyasa kind of go together really well, and a lot of like Hatha classes have elements of Vinyasa in it. A lot of Vinyasa classes have elements of Hatha in it. They kind of are interchangeable a little bit. The only difference to me is that Vinyasa is a little bit more fast. You are moving in sequences, breath to movement, and although all of our yoga practices should be breath centric, or we should be thinking about our breath, or we should be connecting our breath to our movement, I would say Vinyasa, you do this even more. Every movement that you make should be connected to a breath. So basically what that means is that you're inhale, moving, exhale, moving, inhale, moving into a pose, exhale, getting out, or like, you know, vice versa, things like that. Most of the time is inhale, getting into a pose, exhale, release the pose, and going into another thing. If that makes sense. Am I making sense? I don't know if I'm making sense. I feel crazy. I probably shouldn't be having this coffee, but I wanted it, so, you know. So with vinyasas, you will also be doing a lot of vinyasas. That's where we get the term vinyasa from. And vinyasa in Sanskrit means to move in a special way. And in our asana video, in video 3 in this series, we will be talking about like what vinyasa is, what it looks like, and the different ways that you can take a vinyasa. Because vinyasa isn't just one thing. And I remember, oh my gosh, fun story, when I first started doing yoga, so my first like yoga teacher was Yoga with Adriene. Her channel is absolutely incredible, and she got me into yoga. I love her. But I remember every single time in a video she would say, and vinyasa. And I was like, wait, what the heck does that mean? Like, wait, what's vinyasa? And I remember spending a good afternoon, like, looking up online, like, what is vinyasa? What is a vinyasa? Like, what does that mean when she keeps saying vinyasa? Not knowing that right after she says vinyasa, she's literally cueing you through a vinyasa. And I didn't understand what that meant. And it took me, like, forever to figure it out. And I didn't even know, like, when I got it, I don't know, it just kind of happened. But I remember looking at her video that was like, what is a vinyasa? And she was like explaining the theory and stuff behind it, but not what it looked like. And I was like, wait, what? I'm even more confused now. What does that mean to move in a special way? Shouldn't every movement I make be special? Or I don't know. It was a confusing time. So I will make sure that you leave that asana video knowing what a vinyasa is and knowing what they look like. Okay, cool. That is my promise to you. And that video is already made. So like it's good. We're good, guys. We're good. Anywho. So vinyasa. I would say vinyasa is still pretty beginner friendly. The only thing is that you're going to be moving a little bit faster, so maybe if you aren't quite as familiar with poses, then it might be a little bit difficult for you to just know what's going on. That's why I usually suggest that anyone's first yoga class should be a Hatha class, because there does tend to be a little bit more instructions and demonstrations than in a vinyasa flow, because vinyasa flow very, very fast. So that's kind of my only thing that I would say about vinyasa, but I would still say that vinyasa is pretty beginner friendly. So I would say Hatha Vinyasa are going to be the styles that you would most likely see at yoga studios, community centers, gyms. Those are kind of the ones that quintessentially people just think of when they think of yoga. A lot of downward facing dogs, cat cows, sun salutations, especially in vinyasa. There are a lot of sun salutations in vinyasa flow, and that kind of covers it mostly for Hatha and vinyasa styles. Yeah, like I said, like a lot of breath to movement, very basic, pretty easy to pick up. Hatha is a little bit easier, a little bit more beginner friendly, but I'm not gonna lie, I've taught some Hatha classes that are difficult. Just because, again, you're staying in postures for a long time. We want to get those muscles checked in. We want to check in with that core. Say, hi, how you doing? So just because they're beginner friendly doesn't automatically mean that they're easy. Yoga itself should never be easy. It should always ride that fine line of like uncomfortable and painful. We should never go over that line to pain, but it should be a little uncomfortable. It shouldn't just like feel amazing and like nice and lovely. That's more yin stuff. And even then, some yin classes are like are tough. So that about covers it for Hatha Vinyasa. All right. So the next style that we are going to talk about is hot yoga or Bikram yoga. Now, I'm going to preface this little asterisk at the bottom of the page. I am incredibly biased when it comes to hot yoga because one, hot yoga is not my thing. I don't do well in heated settings because I have asthma and it just exacerbates that. Also, two, I'm incredibly biased towards the man Bikram, not the practice. People can practice however they want. I know a lot of people find it very, very beneficial, and that's amazing for them. But like, I can't get past the point that the creator, the man who coined this style, he's just not a good guy. And I'm not going to talk about why on this channel, so if you want to know why, Google it. But yeah, because I just don't want to talk about him. I don't want to give him the time, so I'm going to stop talking about it right now. Anyway, so hot yoga is exactly like it sounds. It is yoga in a heated space. And a lot of people really, really love this, especially people who have a lot of energy, people who like to get a really, really good workout, because let me tell you, you are like sweating. I've never seen a yoga, like a hot yoga class be taught under 95 degrees. So it is hot space and you're doing like a Hatha Vinyasa flow. Now, Bikram yoga is done usually, I think it's like 100 degrees or like 110 degrees with like, I think it's like 20% humidity or something like that in the class. And you're doing 26 postures over the course of 90 minutes. And this is the same 26 postures every single time. So if you are someone who likes order, who likes routine, who likes to know what sequence you're doing, so what movement goes where, then I would highly recommend Bikram for you, because there is a lot of safety there, especially if we like to have control over things. So if we like to know what's going to happen, Bikram is great for that. And I actually recommend it for people who need like order, especially people in like military settings. I would definitely recommend that, because that is something, it's like, you know what you're getting, you know what 26 postures are going to happen, and you're getting a really, really good workout. You're getting a good sweat on. So another thing that I did want to talk about in terms of hot yoga and Bikram yoga, I know that a lot of people say that hot yoga is very detoxifying because you're sweating and you're releasing toxins when you sweat. Now, that's not necessarily true. In reality, so what causes like that detoxification is your liver. Your liver creates that urea, which urea is in your pee and it's in a little bit of your sweat. And that's what the actual like toxins are. That's what we're metabolizing with our liver. That creates pee. Fun fact, in case you don't remember your bio lessons from high school, but that's essentially what happens. So in sweat, there is a tiny little bit of urea in your sweat, and I always remember because my friends and I freaked out when we found out that you pee through your pores. But in actuality, the amount of urea that's in your sweat is very, very small. So in a broad term, yes, you can detox through your sweat, but the amount of detox that happens when you sweat is very, very small in comparison to postures that stimulate the liver, which in turn helps flush toxins out. You also do this when you do very, very deep tissue massage. That's why, your massage therapist will tell you to drink a lot of water, because you're releasing a lot of toxins when you're stimulating those muscles and you want to flush them out. Now, that's not to say that sweating is bad for you, because it's very good for you. We want to be replacing old water with new water. So when we sweat that out, we're releasing that old water and we put back new water, kind of like a Brita filter that's in your body. But in terms of detoxification, the heat doesn't really do that for you. Now, in Bikram yoga and even in, Hatha Vinyasa, most styles of yoga, there are a lot of postures that actually stimulate your liver and help to detox. So that portion of it, yes, that can detox your liver, definitely. But the actual heat, not so much. Are we clear? Cool, great. And again, like, I don't want to, make it seem like I'm dragging hot yoga by any means. Like I said, I do have a bias when it comes to that. I'm not a fan of hot yoga. But I do want to make sure that we have all of the information out there, and I can link medical journals to basically tell you the same thing, that you don't detox when you sweat. That's not a part of it. But sweating is important, like I said. So you can find that actual medical information down in the link box below. So great. We good? Cool. Awesome. So the next style that we're going to be talking about is Ashtanga Yoga. Now, Ashtanga in Sanskrit means the eight-limbed path, which this is referring to the eight limbs of yoga, which is basically the limbs of yoga that actually creates the entire practice of yoga, because yoga isn't just our physical practice or our yogic breathing, but it's actually like a whole spectrum of practices and different ways that you can live your life, rules and regulations, not really rules and regulations, but more like kind suggestions of ways to live so that we can find contentment, that we can find bliss, happiness, all of that fun stuff. And it was brought to the modern world by Sri Patabi Joyce, and I hope that I'm saying that correctly. I'm pretty sure that I am. But it was a practice that had been practiced for a really long time in India, but he just kind of brought it to the modern world. And Ashtanga is like a set of 6 series, and each series is done in like a specific order. So it's always done in this specific order that was written out as the most beneficial to you. And it's pretty much nonstop, very much like Vinyasa in the way that everything is breath to movement. And this practice is hard. It is so hard, so physically demanding. I would not recommend this for the beginner yogi. Even if you do have a very rigorous gym practice or you work out a lot, you never know how doing yoga will sit with you, because it's something completely different. And if you haven't done yoga before, just having that movement in your body being something new, I just personally wouldn't recommend it. I feel like it's a little bit more of a more advanced style of yoga, and the only reason that I'm even talking about this in the style of yoga, one, because it's an amazing style of yoga, and I think that more people should be aware of Ashtanga, but also so that in case, someone tries to get you to go to an Ashtanga class and you don't know what it is, you don't want to be surprised by that sort of stuff, because I know I've had so many friends that are like, oh yeah, I really wanted to go to a yoga class, so I got one on Groupon, and it was a Bikram class, and immediately I was like, oh no, that's so hard, it's such a hard thing, like I'm not even like brave enough to go to a Bikram class, regardless of my feelings on it. It's like, oh my God, no. So I want everyone to be aware of, if they see these names on a schedule, that they know what they're getting into. And again, you don't have to follow my recommendations. This is just what I'm laying out for you. Now, Ashtanga does have a lot of twists, a lot of binds. So again, we're stimulating our liver, our detoxifiers, our Brita filters that live within our body that take all of the toxins out of the blood, out of our food, all of that, and we eliminate it later. So that is more of a detoxifying process than, like I said, with hot yoga. Although both are very, very difficult practices, and both are beneficial just in different ways. So like I said before, Ashtanga Yoga had been practiced for many, many years before Patabi Joyce brought it into the modern world. So it is a practice that is just steeped in tradition. That's a huge part of it, and I just respect Ashtanga yogis so much. They do a lot. It's daunting, and I applaud them so much, because oh God, it's such a hard practice, but it's really, really cool. So the purpose of Ashtanga Yoga itself is purification, like all the way. We're just purifying everything in the body. It also teaches a lot of dedication. We're tapping into our tapas, which I'm not talking about like Spanish finger foods and like small plates. It's like your drive. It's your perseverance to do what you gotta do. It's, again, that line between like comfortable and uncomfortable. Like, it's sort of pushing yourself to do things that you might not normally do, because that's healthy. No good thing happens when you're just like staying in your comfort zone. Like, you're just kind of staying stagnant. We constantly want to be pushing ourselves to do new things, to do things that scare us maybe even a little bit, because that's when real growth happens, and that's when we really find out who we are, is in those moments of like discomfort. Because yeah, like life is pain. Suffering is optional, as I just heard that the other day. Oh my god, so beautiful and so true. So the next style that we're going to talk about is Kundalini. So with Kundalini and Ashtanga yoga, you're most likely going to see them in like bigger cities or hubs where a lot of yoga is practiced. They're not as widely practiced as Hatha, Vinyasa, and Hot yoga or Bikram yoga. I would say those 3 to 4 styles, depending on how you see Hot yoga and Bikram yoga. But those styles tend to be the most practiced styles in the United States. So Ashtanga and Kundalini are more niche. And so, like I said, you're most likely going to see them in bigger cities. Even in San Antonio, there's not very many options in terms of both of those styles, and they have definitely classes here and there that are of Ashtanga or Kundalini styles, but as of actual Ashtanga or Kundalini studios, there aren't really that many, because like I said, it's very niche. But they're still very cool. If you have the opportunity to go and you've been practicing for a while, I still would like highly recommend it, because they're very, very interesting. Or maybe just like look up some stuff online, do some stuff at home, or all of that. So Kundalini is known as the yoga of awareness, and the whole belief is that there's like this coiled snake that's wrapped around the root of your spine. And the whole point of Kundalini is to get that snake to uncoil itself and shoot up through the crown of the head, basically shooting up all of the chakras in the body. So the way that they do that is they're holding postures for a longer amount of time, longer than you would in Hatha Vinyasa, and they're doing a lot of Kriya style movements and breathing techniques. So essentially with Kriya, you're doing a lot of arm movements, and you're connecting those movements to breath. So you might be staying in like a really wide legged stance, like a warrior 2 stance, something like that, and then you're moving your arms and doing really like aggressive breath, almost like if you want to picture a woman in labor, like that sort of thing. I've seen a lot of that in Kundalini yoga, and all of that again is to agitate that snake that's in the base of the spine, to shoot it up. Because how are we going to do that? We're gonna contract our abdominal muscles a lot to kind of get it awake and then shoot up. And the whole point is to have a Kundalini awakening. Now, I haven't personally experienced a Kundalini awakening, but I do remember that a girl in my 200-hour teacher training did experience a Kundalini awakening, and she said it was absolutely amazing. Kind of can't really describe it, but she did say it was awesome. So I would recommend Kundalini to people who feel that they cannot meditate. Now again, I would also recommend this to people who have been practicing for a while, because Kundalini is not necessarily an easy practice. Or if they are doing it for the first time and they haven't been practicing for very long, just to give yourself a lot of grace and to just not be aware of anyone else who is doing the class, just so that we don't have any comparisons, because it is also a very hard practice like Ashtanga, or it can be a very hard practice like Ashtanga. But you are doing a lot of like moving meditation. So for anyone who has monkey mind, or basically their mind just doesn't stop talking and they don't feel like they can focus when they do their meditation, Kundalini has been recommended by many people for that specific reason. So that is also another thing to think about. Kundalini is also paired a lot with like sound healing. So I've seen a lot of gong and sound bath Kundalini classes. So just like with Ashtanga, Kundalini is steeped in tradition. It's actually really cool. Teachers and students wear white, and what that does is that it helps to deflect negativity, it lifts mood, It's also a color that reflects light. So it's just a really lovely color, and I think that that's a really cool little tradition that they continue to keep. It's also almost the idea of like being a blank canvas so that the yoga can do its work, which is really awesome. All right, so that is it for our yang styles of yoga. Now there are so many different styles of yoga, so I couldn't fit them all, but these are the ones that I've personally seen the most and that I know are the most practiced in the United States, probably in the world, but my scope is really more in the United States because I live there and I teach there, so I know more about it than other countries. But if you guys have any questions, like I said, feel free to ask me. If you see any other styles of yoga that I have not included, I welcome you to do your own research or to contact the studios that are offering these classes. They probably have way more information and can probably explain it a little bit better. So, yay, awesome. So, next, we are going to be talking about, oh my gosh, get that hair out of there. So now that we're done with our yang yoga, we're gonna take off our yang hats and we're gonna throw it over there. Because now we're gonna be talking about yin yoga. So like I said before, yin is that slow, feminine, soft moon. I love the moon. Do you guys like the moon? I love the moon. Of course, my logo is a moon, or the logo that I am currently working on. I don't know if it's gonna be ready by the time that this is up, but my logo is a moon, so because I love it. The moon is great. Anyway, you guys, you're distracting me again. Guys, stop getting me off of my topics. Anyway, so the first style that we're gonna talk about in our yin umbrella is yin. It's yin yoga. So yin yoga was founded and first taught in the 1970s, and it was created by a man in the United States. He was also a Taoist, and he was also a martial arts instructor. And basically what yin yoga is that it is very slow and cool. Not like, you know, put on sunglasses, like I'm awesome, cool. Like it's cold. It's meant to be taught at colder temperatures, and I'll tell you why in a second. So with yin yoga, like I said, it's very slow. And I know that I've said that about some styles before, but this one is really slow. Like you're only doing about 5 to 7 postures in a 1-hour class slow. And the reason why we do that only like that many postures is because you're staying in postures for a longer amount of time, approximately 3 to 5 minutes, sometimes 1 minute, just depending on what the actual stretch is. And it's usually supposed to be taught at cooler temperatures, so no hotter than 70 degrees in there. And the reason that we're doing that is that we are trying to target fascia. So when we're stretching in a hot room, we're stretching our muscles, and that's what hot yoga, a lot of that is like really targeting that, as well as getting your sweat going, but it's also opening up your muscles during that. So with yin, we're targeting fascia. Now, what's fascia? I'm so glad that you asked. So fascia is that silver skin. It almost looks like the selenite right there. But if you want to think about a steak, I'm so sorry, vegetarians and vegans, but if you want to think about a steak, like that grizzly silver skin that you find on your steak, the stuff that you can't really chew through or cut through, that's fascia. And it's everywhere in our body, and the more we do research on it, the more we realize that fascia is like the building blocks of everything in our body. It's how everything is connected through this silver skin, and fascia works very similarly to plaque. I know, gross, but I'll tell you why. So I know that you guys probably go to the dentist, I hope, or at least have gone to the dentist once in your life. But if you've never gone to the dentist, I'll explain exactly why. So dentists are constantly telling us that we need to floss our teeth every single day, at least once a day, preferably twice a day. And the reason is that plaque builds up over time. So, and it hardens over time. It has about a 24-hour period of it hardening. So every single day that we don't floss, we have more and more plaque building on top of it, and it's harder and harder for it to go away with simple flossing. You have to actually go into a dentist's office and get that plaque removed once it hardens, because it's incredibly difficult to get off with just like strain. So that's why they tell us floss every single day. Like, you always want to floss, because that's really where cavities happen, or where the teeth are close together because of that plaque building up over time and then degrading like the actual enamel and that hard shell. I'm not a dentist, but this is what I've kind of picked up. They thought I wasn't listening in my appointments. I listen. So fascia works the same as that. So fascia builds up over time and it begins to harden as more and more builds up. So we want to decrease that amount of fascia by simply doing those stretches. And so that's what we are targeting. So we're doing a lot of hip openers, a lot of shoulder openers, more stretching in postures, but a lot of them are also supported. So we're using props like blankets, bolsters, blocks, all of that good stuff. We're using all of that in our classes to help support and open a little bit more. Though it's not all supposed to be supported, because we are supposed to be feeling a little bit of a stretch, because that's where we are targeting that fascia. So again, we're targeting that edge. And you're gonna hear this a lot in classes. Target your edge, find your edge. And basically what that means is what we've been talking about like this whole time, that sort of line of like, it's not quite pain, but it's not really comfortable. We're still working, but you know, it's not like I'm overworking, I'm gonna hurt myself. It's more of just like, okay, I'm feeling the stretch, it's a little uncomfortable, I'm gonna keep breathing, I'm gonna just like focus and just, you know, and just deal. So that's really what yin yoga is all about. It's targeting that fascia. And the reason why we want to target that fascia is that, again, because it grows over time, because the more we don't stretch like that, the more it builds up. And when that builds up, our range of motion decreases. And that's not so much a problem, you know, earlier on in life, but later on in life, it does become a problem, and that's when we really start to lose range of motion. So working on that as soon as possible to just really target that fascia, you're gonna have a much easier time in the long run later on in life, because range of motion is so important. We don't wanna be someone who can't lift their arms, you know, above here. We wanna have full range of motion. So we wanna be preemptive about that. And I really want to make sure that everyone out there knows that I'm not trying to shame anyone who their range of motion is right here. That's absolutely fine. What I'm saying is that we do want to eventually open that up and be as preemptive as we possibly can. If this is as far as you go, then we can totally work on this, like opening that up, being able to get your arms up over your head. That's totally fine. Our limits are our limits, and it shouldn't be something that we're shamed for at all, and that's not what I mean, but it's more of just, I want us to have this not be a problem anymore, because we want to be able to reach our arms over our heads, or to have that range of motion. And that's where yin really comes in. And I love yin. It's one of my favorite styles to teach. I just think that it's so beneficial and it's so relaxing. A lot of times people will read poetry, or they'll read yogic texts, or just amazing quotes. I've seen people combine it with sound healing, so they'll use like drums and bowls and gongs and all sorts of stuff. It's a really amazing practice, and it's just, yeah, it's so lovely. And it is best practiced early in the morning or late at night. Those are the yin times, because again, it's that colder time of the day. Excuse me. So the next style that we're going to be talking about is restorative, which came around not that long after yin yoga did. So we're doing a lot of those same postures that we do in yin yoga, very slow. Again, we're holding postures for a longer amount of time, 3 to 5 minutes. We're doing only about 5 to 7 postures, but instead with restorative yoga, everything is completely supported. So there's no pressure, there's no sensation, or there shouldn't really be any sensation. We're just enjoying the benefits of the posture in the most supported way that we possibly can. And this is amazing, especially I've seen it a lot with people in their golden era, as I like to call it, prime of life. People who are a little bit older, who maybe can't do a lot on like their wrists, because regular yang yoga, you know, you're doing a lot of like tabletops and downward facing dogs, it's a lot of pressure on the wrist. So if you can't do that anymore and you still want to enjoy the benefits of yoga, restorative is amazing for that. And it's just so relaxing. I love just yin styles of yoga. It's so nice, but also like I'm a lazy little potato. So if I had my choice of doing anything, like I would just like lay down and chill and sleep and do all of that and just veg out. But I love restorative yoga. It's so relaxing. It is a really nice time for you to just like be alone with your thoughts and to just breathe it out and just have a good time. So restorative yoga, like I said, it's like an even more chill version of yin. So we're doing very, very similar postures. It's just you're maybe using even more props than you would in your yin yoga. Because yin yoga, there are some yin yoga postures that are hard and that like hurt a little bit, and that you really need to use those like bolsters and blocks and stuff, because it's no joke. It seems like it's really nice and restorative and relaxing, but oh my gosh, I've had some yin teachers kick my butt because the stretches are just so much, and I'm a very tight person. I was not gifted with open hips and like open shoulders and stuff like that. I have a lot of mobility, I wouldn't say issues, but I don't have hypermobility. I'm not able to do the splits or all of those crazy open postures. I have very, very tight hips. My mom gave me them, and I will never forgive her for giving me those hips. So those are our yin styles of yoga. There's really only those two. It's a small umbrella. It's an umbrella for like a little kid. But those are amazing styles, and I have been seeing yin and restorative yoga become more on the rise, and yin and restorative are actually very easy to do in your own home, especially if you're working on a wall. There's a lot of postures that you can do that are extremely beneficial to you and your body and your nervous system, your circulation. All of that is amazing. And yin poses you can even actually just do in bed. You can roll up a towel and use it as a bolster, or use a towel to kind of pad the knees, use it as a blanket. You can use books as blocks. There's all sorts of stuff. So you don't even really need all of the props that you would find in a yoga studio. You can kind of just make it work with whatever you have lying around, which is awesome. But if you see a yin class or a restorative class like near you, I would highly recommend going to it because it's so yummy. I love it. All right, so that's it for yin. Oh my gosh, awesome. So we only have one more style to talk about. Sad. But one of my personal favorites, and one that I love to teach so much. It is becoming more and more popular as the years are going, and I'm so excited about that. And it is aerial yoga. Oh my gosh. Aerial yoga is so much fun. So if you've seen any of those videos of like people in silk hammocks or on like those silk tissues, and they're doing all of that circus stuff and they're like doing drops and stuff. So those are the apparatuses that you would use for aerial yoga. More specifically, the hammock. So it's basically just like a loop like that. Yeah. Except instead of it being super, super high up, it's relatively low to the ground. It's usually no higher than about 2 feet. Ideally right at your hip crease is where the silk should be. And it works very similarly to yin yoga, in which we are using our apparatus, our props, to get into deeper postures. So we're using our silk to go into more supported versions of yoga postures and potentially even deeper into postures. But we're always using the silk as support. We can also find complete inversions without any stress on the neck or on the shoulders, which is great. Inversions are so good for the body. There are literally so many benefits. And again, I'll link a article about the benefits of inversions. And even though we can find inversions in our regular practice, even without doing headstands and handstands, it's so nice to have that complete inversion without any pressure on the body. It's so nice and it's really fun. It's a way for us to sort of tap back into that childlike wonder and that playfulness so we can just have a good time. I see so many smiles and so much laughter. It can be scary, not gonna lie, because you're going upside down, you're putting all of your trust into a silk, but it is really, really fun. Other benefits of aerial yoga is that it can take a lot of pressure off of the wrist. So I have a client and a regular that comes to my aerial classes up in Boerne, which check out Aerial Yoga Boerne. Check out my classes if you want to join. At Aerial Yoga Boerne, I do have a client that cannot do mat yoga anymore because it's too much pressure on the wrist and she can't put weight on her wrists anymore. And so she practices aerial yoga now. And even though we do kind of hold on to the silk with our wrists, we're not under like gravity, if that makes sense. There's like less gravity like pushing directly on the wrist, and instead we're using more of our biceps to like sort of pull. So it's not as much of like all of your body weight is on that area of the body. Yeah. So it's really, really great for the wrists. And so people think that it's something that's unattainable, or that if you're older, I use that in quotes because like, what does that even mean? But that, you know, it's something that only like really, really like young women can do. And that's not true at all. I see people of every age coming in. I see men, women, I see all sorts of people coming in. And it's just really, really fun. It does have an element of danger because, again, we are suspended off of our mats, but as long as you listen to your instructor, go slowly, be patient, and give yourself a lot of grace because this is not something that just comes naturally. It's hard. Your equilibrium is totally thrown off. It's like what I imagine a lot of astronauts go through when they go in 0G for the first time, because you don't know where up and down is. It just really gives you a new perspective on everything because you're literally like you're upside down and gravity isn't working the same way that it usually does. But it is really, really fun. And I love aerial yoga to bits. I just have so much fun teaching it and showing people new ways of getting into postures. And it's also like the best shavasana or meditation you will ever have because you're literally laying down in a silk. How amazing does that sound? It's great. Yeah. So that's it for aerial yoga. We've gone through all of the styles. Guys, we're done. All right, so that is it for the styles of yoga. Again, if there's any style that I missed that you want to know more about, please feel free, comment, email, message me, all of that stuff. Do your own research. Yeah, and if you want to know anything else about yoga, if you have any video ideas, things that you want to know more about, please feel free. Let me know. This is a conversation. Once again, I'm going to keep reiterating that. I want to hear from you guys. You guys are seen. You guys are heard. You guys are valid. I love you. Sorry, I know that we just met, but I love you. I love you guys. Okay. All right. So, what else? Please subscribe, comment, share to all of your friends. Let's make the Nirbasam family just like so big that we don't know what to do with it. I want to grow this Sangha and just, yeah. Okay, that is it here for these styles of yoga. My name is Nina Ramos. This is Nirbasam Yoga, and I hope that you have a Nirbasam day. And right now I can see my cat. Oh, you're leaving? Okay. Bye. She's a shy girl. Her favorite hobbies include lurking in the shadows and staring at you from a distance. We call her the Dark Harbinger because she's a weird gal. But I love her. We love her.